Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullah. Allah Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu an Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat. Allah Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. We thank Allah for blessing us to have a successful Ramadan. Even if all of us didn't make the fast, it's a collective victory for the Ummah. Praise be to Allah. We know that Allah says in the Quran more than once, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. That is, and no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. And this is very, very important for us to remember, because we say this, but really sometimes we forget. And that is that so many times people want to be burdens on others. You find able-bodied men sometimes out on the street, and they're begging, and they could find some livelihood. But a lot of times the reason why that exists is because of the fact that they may have had a dysfunctional upbringing, or they may have inferiority complex or something like that. But we know that we have obligation as Muslims to help those who are unable to help themselves. But again, Allah says no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. Praise be to Allah. So I'd like to speak to you for a few minutes about the Surah 100. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. Translated, and by the steeds, or the horses, or the swift camels that run. How do they run? ضَبْحًا, with a panting breath. They run with a panting breath. Why do they do it? Because they are trying to gather as much oxygen into their system so they can run faster and as long as they possibly can. Praise be to Allah. So Allah is calling our attention to the reality that He has designed this horse with. Again, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. Then the next ayah, فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا. And they strike up sparks with their hoofs as they are running. And you know as well as I know that if you're talking about sparks of fire, if it's broad daylight, you may not see the sparks. But if it's a nighttime raid and a cavalcade of horses is coming at you, you can see the sparks from miles away. So Allah has given us a picture of a midnight or a nighttime approaching battle. Okay? So Allah said, I swear by these horses that run with this panting breath. فَمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا. And they push home the charge in the morning. So now it's daylight. They pushing home the charge in the morning. فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقْعًا. And they raise the dust in the clouds. So you know, in a daytime situation, if you got a cavalcade or cavalry coming on, let's say, a dirt situation, you're going to see dust coming up in the air, alerting the enemy again. There's something and someone or a group of people are approaching. And then when they get to the foe, Allah reveals, and they penetrate forthwith in the midst of the foe. This is the horse doing the bidding, or the camel doing the bidding of the rider. And you know as well as I know, you have wicked people that ride horses and you have good people that ride horses, right? So the horse is obedient to the master, the ones that have trained them, right? And here Allah changes the whole tenor of the surah by saying to us, Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud. Truly, the human being, mankind, al-insan, is ungrateful to his Lord. But not only does Allah reveal that the human beings have a tendency to be ungrateful, he puts it in a real strong grammatical structure. He says, lakanud. He put an L-A in front of kanud, which means ungrateful. Lakanud. He wants you and I to remember this. He wants you and I to remember the horse. When you see the horse, think of the obedience of the horse and transfer that obedience into you. But here it is, Allah has made this horse to obey us, and he will run himself or herself to death for the rider. You see in the Kentucky Derby and all of that stuff that they have, the horse races and all of that, they will beat the horse and keep beating them and beating them, beckoning him on to go faster and faster and faster. And they say that a horse will run until his heart peters out in devotion to the master or the rider, not necessarily his master all the time. So sometimes they have more people that they obey than just the one that trained them, you know. So Allah is calling our attention to see how I've given you this horse to be an obedient servant to you. You should transfer that same obedience that you see in that horse to me, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So during this month of Ramadan, many of us was able to be more obedient than we were the previous months. But now the test is for us to be as obedient or more obedient than what we were during the month of Ramadan. Those habits that we established during this month, we want to continue them on and get them even better and be even more conscious of Allah and what he has revealed to us as a blueprint for our human life. So you see the flow. Allah is telling you about the properties and the nature of this horse, how he fights your battles in terms of being your servant to get you to where you're trying to go to get to your enemy. But one of the beautiful things about the Arabic language is that the verb structures are so beautifully structured that there's meaning that are carried in various verbs. And what I'm saying to you now is when Allah says, well, adiyati, the root of adiyati is adawun, which is enemy, an enemy. We say that shaitan is aduwun mubin, same root of adiyat, meaning that he is an open adversary, a clear adversary to what is right. So why is Allah using al-adiyati in relationship to the horse? Because the horse or the swift camels, they go from transition to transition to transition, right? They run through water, they run all night, they run during the day. They are always making the transition that you want them to make. And so Shaitan, he's always making the transition wherever we go, right? He's on our right, he's on our left, he's behind us, he's up here. He's all around trying to pull you and I off the sirat, al-mustaqim, the straight path. So Ramadan, our whole faith is designed to get us to have strength against deviation, strength against those who have no faith in God, those who want to pull you into disbelief as they are steeped in disbelief. So continuing the surah, I said to you that Allah said that the human being is extremely ungrateful, but he carries it even further, and he says to us, وَإِنَّهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ لَشَهِيدٌ. And to that fact, he or she, the humanity, they bear witness by his deeds or by their deeds that they are ungrateful. Allah knows what we do. This is a month of thanks and gratitude and appreciation for Allah having given us a blueprint on how we should live our life. So every day of our lives, we should focus on trying to be more grateful and more appreciative. And we all slip into forgetting about the many favors that Allah has bestowed upon us. But Allah knows we're going to forget, and Allah tells us in the Quran. He asks you and I the question, so which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? So it's a given that He knows, we know, that we're going to forget some of these favors. Some of us forget the fact that we breathe in all this beautiful air and all this finery that Allah has given us, and we don't show the regard that we should for, let's say, even the water. We pollute the water, we pollute the sky, pollute the air, atmosphere, all of these kind of things, kill one another, all of this, you know. So Allah is letting you and I know you're going to neglect and disregard some of these favors, but still that's not what He wants us to do. He wants us to be appreciative and regardful of Him and obey Him for our own benefit, not to His benefit. And then Allah goes on, وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ, and strong is He, talking about the human being, in His love for good. Give me good, Allah, give me good, Allah. It's very interesting to note that Abdullah Yusuf Ali says, and violent is He in His love of wealth. It doesn't say wealth in this word. Khair means good and useful and beneficial. And it doesn't indicate violent. Shadid means strong, driven, and wanting good. Give me good, Allah. Give me good, Allah. And I'm sure most of you heard the hadith where it said that a man came to the Prophet and said, what can I do so that Allah will bestow blessings and gifts on me? And the report has it, it says that his clothes was haram, his speech was haram, everything about him was haram, and he asking Allah to bestow good on him, you know? So sometimes people have that kind of mind too. I don't have this, I don't have that. So instead of trying to learn what is needed or get a trade or get something that they can do to make money and feel good about themselves and devote themselves to Allah, they go the other way, but still are violent and strong and wanting good. So Allah is talking about this kind of character flaw that exists in the human beings. And then Allah asks the question, فَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. Does not the human being know when that which is in the grave is scattered abroad? وَحُصِلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And that which is locked up in the human breast, meaning all of what we had as a record of our deeds in this life, will be made manifest, will be made plain. We will get our books in our right or our left hand, right? Allah tells us this in the Quran. And then the concluding ayah, إِنَّ رَبَّهُمْ بِهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَخَبِيرٌ. And that day, they will know that their Lord had been well acquainted with them every day that they lived. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Surely Allah, He speaks the truth. And so this particular surah, I had learned it many years ago. And just in the last, I'd say 3, 4, maybe 5 years, it dawned upon me, this is Surah 100. And Allah is telling you that horse gives 100%. 100 Surah, 100% is the nature of the horse, right? You know, from, if you have anything in your mind's eye about electronics and whatnot, and you see engines for lawnmowers and different, devices, they'll put on there 15 horsepower, HP, right? They say 15 horsepower, meaning if you push that engine beyond that horsepower calibration, it will peter out, it will go out. And so it is with the horse. You can beat him to the point where he will peter out as a result of trying to give his utmost devotion to the rider. So we know that we are not going to be angels here on this earth, But we know that the goal is to get as close to Allah and as obedient to Allah as possible, do all the good that we can do. Perchance we will be denizens or residents of the Jannah when we leave here, when we go 6 feet under. Praise be to Allah. So Allah reveals in the Quran, in the Surah 39, وَلَقَدْ ضَرَبْنَا لِلنَّاسِ فِي هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ مِنْ كُلِّ مَثَلٍ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. And we have put forth, we have beat into the human being's consciousness. He uses daraba. Daraba means to beat or to strike. It also means to propound something into a person. He said, I've done this all kind of ways in this Quran, trying to appeal to your good side, trying to appeal to the fact that if you don't do good, you go to hellfire. He's trying to get you into a spiritual excitement about all the wonders that he has created. He has tried all methods in this Quran for us. So again, it says, we have put forth for human beings in this Quran every kind of parable in order. Why is he doing it? In order that you may receive the admonition, and also in order that you will think and ponder and weigh it and apply it in your lives. And then he gives more comment about this Quran. He says, Qur'aanan Arabiyyan Gaira the Iraja or Irajan la'allahum yattaqun. It is a Quran in Arabic. What does Arabic mean? A lot of times we say, oh, just the language that the people in Saudi Arabia speak, you know. But if you are a student of this Quran, you should have a dictionary. You should have a concordance of the Quran where you can look up words. So if you look up the word Arabah, the root of it, it means to be pure. It means to be undefiled. It means to be without admixture. Isn't that the property of the language of Arabic? We know from history that the Arabs were going from water hole to water hole in that desert for thousands and thousands of years, and no one came in there to conquer them. Why not? All they had was sand and a few goats and cows and different stuff like that. So they weren't conquered by anybody, the Arabs. So as a consequence, their language remained pure and intact. So when they began to interact with other nations and whatnot, they have the language structured by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I believe Allah gave this language in the form of revelation to some person or group of persons way back when. So if they allow a word into their language, they got flags on to let you know this is not one of our Arabic words. We will accept it in, but it's not one of our Arabic words. A clear example is Ibrahim. Ibrahim is not an Arabic word, but we know that Ibrahim was one of the fathers of monotheism, the belief in La ilaha illallah and not joining God with God, right? So they said, we had to let him in, but we're going to put some markers on the end of it to let you know that's not one of our words, but we graciously accept that word into our language. There's a lot of words like that in the Arabic language. Praise be to Allah. So Allah is saying he has revealed this as a pure Quran. Quran Arabiyan would suggest a pure proclamation. So if it's pure, that means it's in accord with your nature. It's in accord with all of our natures, just like drinking and sucking the mama's breast when you come out of the womb is in your nature to look for the breast, to get some milk when you come out. They even say that there's a line on the pregnant woman's stomach that the child instinctively know, follow that line, you're going to come up to where the breasts are, you know. I've heard of a brother who's a doctor talk about that before. So this Quran is in accord with our natures. It is not the Arab's language. It is the language for the whole of humanity. And Allah has told us repeatedly in the Quran that he has made it easy for us to understand. So what do you need to do? What do I need to do? We need to get with someone that knows the basic structure and the rudiments of this language so that you can understand the grammatical structure. And then after that, go to work in the dictionaries and the lexicons and all of that. And you don't have to be fluent in Arabic to understand this Quran. In fact, most of us know that most of the Arabs who speak on the street, they speak slang, colloquial. They don't speak Arabic Fusha. The educated ones do. But the average person on the street, you ask them, well, why does Allah say tabaraka? They say, I don't know, it just means blessed. But if you are a grammarian, you know that Allah said tabaraka, tabaraka alladhi nazala furqana ala abdihi. Blessed is he who owns all of the blessings. So the tag that you know that there's some reciprocity. He gives out these blessings, but he also takes these blessings back. So that's why he puts the tag on the beginning. So the average Arab that speaks the language every day, they couldn't tell you that. Because they don't study the language from the position of a scientist. It's just like us in English. If I ask you, well, what is an appositive? What is a gerund? Most of us would know, though we speak English very clearly and people understand as well, you know? So it's the same thing with the Arab language too. Arab, actually Arab, not Arab, but Arab, Arabian, okay? That's the name that it should be pronounced, Arab. It's an Arab. Okay, continuing. See, I don't have much time, so I have to move on. So, I want to bring this to your attention. We're talking about the Muslims having an individual victory by us individually putting it upon ourselves that we're going to fast this month of Ramadan, deny ourselves all of the things that are forbidden, as Allah has set forth in the Quran and the life example of his prophet. So these individuals, we should not just remain individuals. We're supposed to come up with what? Collective community life. So in 3 months, we're going to have the Hajj. And the Hajj is a reference to the idea that all of the human beings, whether they be Chinese, Arab, Mexican, Hispanic, you name it, they are from one human family. And we go to Mount Arafat so that we can get to know each other, right? We want to get to know each other. So Islam kills racism for those who really submit their hearts and their souls. There's no room for any racism. But the reality is we know we have it. You see it, I see it. You go to a masjid, you may be the only African American to walk in there. You can go there the whole day and no one says, Assalamu alaikum, you know? It happens. Well, if I'm in a situation where an immigrant comes into, let's say a Pakistani comes into an all African American masjid, I'm quick to say, Assalamu alaikum, welcome him. Ahlan wa sahlan, as we say. Easy, like family, wa mahaban bik. A spacious room to you, you know? So the Muslims have to insist on the removal of racism from your spirit and from the spirit of the community. It's very, very crucial and essential. And so many times people will look at you and say you might be a light-skinned person of African descent, but you have, you know, black silky hair, and you might look like a Pakistani or something like that. Then the blacks will reject you because they think you are Pakistani and don't know you're African American. I know a brother who went to Chicago. He was trying to sell some tapes to some of the African Americans there. And one of the racist African Americans told him, why don't you go around your own people and sell your tapes? That's the wallahi, this happened, you know. So I'm saying to you, I'm flipping it, but I'm inclined to believe, this is my thought, that the African Americans, for the most part, they're more accepting of other races as opposed to some of the others. And a lot of it has something to do with the caste system in India and all of that, how they got the untouchables, the ones on the lower echelon of the society, they can never marry one on the higher class and these kind of things. So they're used to this departmentalizing people into classes based on lineage, based on money, etc. So the Muslim is to have that stuff removed from his spirit. And as Allah has told us in the Quran, He has created us all from nafsin wahida, one soul, and then after that soul split into two, came the countless men and women, right? So we all brothers and sisters, and you should be living your life every day. You don't have to go to Hajj to recognize it, to see that we all one family. You could do it right here in Toledo, right here in your environment. So I'm not one to say, oh, African Americans shouldn't marry a Caucasian girl, or Pakistani shouldn't marry a Chinese. No, you should marry who you want to marry. And nobody should say nothing about it, especially amongst the Muslims, especially, right? Praise be to Allah. So in the Quran, I got to close out in a few moments. As for those who divide their religion and break up into sects, thou hast no part in them in the least. Their affairs with Allah. He will in the end tell them the truth of all that they did. So you know as well as I know, we have a lot of sects amongst Muslims. You got the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Hanbali school, the Jafari school, the Wahhabi school, and you got the Shia, right? They have the Shia. So could you imagine, why would they call themselves Shia when Allah is telling us by using the word in the Quran, Shiya'an, don't do that. So you're going to separate and have your own, sect, and you're going to name it after something that Allah said don't do. The word is Shiya'an. Shiya'an in this ayah, 6:159 for your information. So I'm saying to you that we should not put labels on each other. We are a Muslim. I'm not a Hanbali Muslim or a Maliki Muslim. I am a Muslim. You are a Muslim. One who endeavors to be actively submitting to the will of Allah. اللهم نستعينك ونستغفرك ونؤمن بك ونتوكل عليك ونثني عليك الخير ونشكرك ولا نكفرك. Oh Allah, we ask for your help. We ask for your forgiveness. We believe in you. We trust in you. And we extol and exalt you in the best manner. And we are thankful to you, Allah, and we are not ungrateful. Praise be to Allah. I just want to call your attention to this ayah here. And it's really interesting how Allah gives pictures relating to the animals and different things that He's created. He talked about the ants, He talked about the bees and whatnot, right? So in this particular series of two ayahs, actually, Allah asks you and I the question. He's asking the disbelievers mainly, but He's also asking you and I too, who profess belief. And I just want to give this as a sidebar. Allah never tells you and I in the Quran that He loves the Muslims. He never says He loves the believers. He says, Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Surely Allah, He loves the doers of good. The doers of good. So just because you say you're a Muslim, Allah is not telling you that He loves you. If you have faith, you have trust, you have belief. Allah doesn't say that He loves you. But if you are a person who have submission in your spirit, and you have trust and faith in Allah, and you are active in giving zakah and calling people to the faith and all of that, those are the ones that Allah loves. Those are the ones that Allah loves. So He asked the question, so what is the matter with them that they turn away from this reminder, talking about this Quran, like they are a frighted donkey? Abdullah Salih puts the word asses in there. The person, oh man, cursing, in the khutbah. But we know that back in the day, ass was not, it wasn't looked at as being a curse word. That's just what they called them. An ass, a donkey. So Abdullah Salih said affrighted asses. And I tried to clean it up and say affrighted donkeys. Fleeing from a lion. This is Allah asking the question. What is the matter? Like they running from this revelation. And if you're talking about a bunch of donkeys, they squeal when they in fear. They make all kinds of squeal. Real hollering type squeal that's repulsive, like they running from a lion. Lion, he will take you out. That's for sure. So Allah is giving you the picture. You shouldn't be running away from this Quran. If you say you're a Muslim, you should be a student of the Arabic language so you can understand it for yourself, for your individual self, and not be dependent upon the imam or the leaders or the internet to see what other people say. Listen to what they say, but see what Allah has to say to you directly. That's what I always try to empower people to do. And the reason why I do that is because I know that it can be done. Because I'm a witness to it. I'm an Arabic teacher. Been around a number of cities teaching Arabic. And all I did was take 3 Arabic classes at Wayne County Community College back in 1977, 78. And I understand the grammar of the Quran from having had those classes. So I try to have classes here, but most of the people are running away. They don't come. They don't show. There are no shows, So I'm just letting you know that I am an Arabic teacher, and I have a book that I wrote just explaining the basic fundamentals and rudiments of this language. So don't be like the donkey running away from the lion. I encourage you to be a student of the Quran. And also I encourage you to know that the more and more you and I understand the Quran in the language we're building, the better we'll be able to get the best out of it and increase our taqwa and also increase our material situation as well. And after all is said and done, we go to the Jannah. And this is the whole goal of this life, right? To get out of here and your scale for good is outweighing your bad scale. And in closing, Allah says to us plainly, He really makes it easy for us. He said, he whose good deeds we found heavier than the bad deeds, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. He or she will be in a state of pleasure, right? And he whose bad deeds outweigh the good deeds, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. And his mother will be the bottomless pit. Now notice, Allah said mother, He used the word which means mother. So in that pit of hell, there'll still be some nurturing agent there to bring you back to the original pure nature that you and I had when we came out of the wombs of our mother in sajda, right? We came out of the wombs of our mother in sajda. Ain't that something? So when you make sajda, you should be thinking about it. I think about it. How good I was when I came out. I know that I have fallen short of that purity, but at least I'm conscious of trying to get back as close to it as I can. So remember, that Allah wants us to make it to the Jannah, but He also lets us know that we should have regard for the possibility that we could go to Jahannam. So I hope I said something of value to you and inspire you and encourage you. And I again tell you, Eid Mubarak. It is a recurring happiness. Eid Mubarak. Over and over again, the Muslims get this happiness from having completed the month of Ramadan. Feel like champions. Feel like I accomplished something, and I know Allah is pleased with me, and I'm pleased with myself. So praise be to Allah for Him giving us the understanding that Al-Islam is the way that He has ordained for the whole of the creation. Praise be to Allah. He come. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بؤثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا القارية ما القارية وما أدراك ما القارية يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كإحدى المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Allah give us the excellence of this life and the excellence of the life to come and save us from the penalty of the fire. Amen. Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum radio audience or Facebook audience.